Okay, thanks at the onset to Infineon for organizing this particular event, this flagship event, where I've been asked to explain and to let you know what exactly has been, how exactly has been India's EV journey. Now, initially, if I might make only one intervention, that this journey has been a kind of, it has been a very interesting one, and it is a continued journey. And of late, definitely it is bringing about a lot of traction in the entire country. Now, let me just go back a couple of years, 3 years back. In 2018 September, there was a global mobility summit. It was called MOVE Summit, in which our own Prime Minister, India's Prime Minister, he outlined the broad contours of mobility that is going to take shape in the country in the future. So he talked of common, connected, convenient, congestion-free, charged, clean, and cutting edge of technology. That was precisely with the 7 C's he was trying to elaborate that how exactly the mobility paradigm of the country is going to be in the years to come. Now, as a sequel to that, as a follow-up to that, in March 2019, the National Mission on Transformative Mobility and Battery Storage was set up. This was set up at Niti Aayog to steer India's EV journey forward. And this mission had a mission director. This mission was a kind of interministerial kind of contour was there, so that all decisions could be taken immediately and then it can be driven forward. So that was one of the major initiatives, that an overarching umbrella was created that could provide the policy support to different ministries in case they so require and take the EV thing forward. Now, as a follow-up to that, there was a FAME scheme. Now, this is one of the most flagship scheme of Government of India. It is called Faster Adoption and Manufacturing of Electric Vehicles. So FAME scheme was basically to incentivize the adoption of electric vehicles. Now, we took it that electric vehicles have to be in the country for so many positive reasons. They should be there, definitely, more so because our oil dependence is so much there on external factors, and we do want that energy security must come to the country at the most rapid pace possible. So with that kind of background, that kind of initiative, the first flagship scheme of FAME was initiated. Now, the idea was to incentivize, as I said, especially the two-wheelers and three-wheelers, but not discounting the four-wheelers and the charging infrastructure and the buses. They were also a part of it, but two-wheelers and three-wheelers were the primary focus. For the only reason being that two-wheelers and three-wheelers, they constitute together almost 75 to 80% of India's fleet strength. That was the reason why we focused on this. Now, we could see that gradually traction started coming in. So that was a scheme, but gradually on evaluation, we could understand that things were not moving on in probably, there was some re-strategizing was needed. So we did re-strategize this FAME 2 scheme. FAME, this is the version 2 scheme that we re-strategized. This FAME scheme was it was for 10,000 CR, so close to say 1.35 billion US dollar that was put into the scheme. So we decided that it should be re-strategized, and there was a understanding that for different vehicle segments, different strategy need to be introduced. It cannot be one size fit all strategy that will give results. So precisely for two-wheelers, we decided that we should be increasing the incentives. So we enhanced the incentives from say 10,000 INR to 15,000 INR, and there were other incentives were also given. So the incentive, increasing the incentive was the primary focus in the strategy of two-wheelers. For the three-wheelers, where we could see that the products were almost harmonized, we decided that we should aggregate the demand. So demand aggregation was the strategy that we decided, and we identified one of the government PSUs, public sector undertaking, which was working with a kind of phenomenal success in the same sphere. In the LED bulbs, precisely, they had notched a marvelous record. So we held them responsible. We made them responsible to take it forward for the aggregation of demand. So we said that to start with, almost 3.5 lakh, that is 300,000 units of three-wheelers must be there. That much of demand should be aggregated and given to the order and placed on the order book of the OEMs. Now, this was a phenomenal kind of initiative intervention, because now OEMs were sure that this was the offtake of their vehicles, and therefore they were ready to get into the entire supply chain. So that was the second intervention. The third one for the buses was that we decided that rather than going in for thin spread of resources all over the country, we identified only 9 cities where our population was maximum 4 million plus population. In each of these cities, 9 of them were identified for bringing about the visibility, the optics of increasing the number of strength, proliferating the buses in these cities. So that was a third kind of intervention within the re-strategized intervention within the FAME version 2. And we can see that it is yielding wonderful results. So FAME 2 was primarily focusing on demand creation with incentive, with aggregation, and with lighthouse cities. We call these 9 cities as lighthouse cities, because we thought that once that optics comes into these 9 cities, once that people are aware of the disruption, that the advantages of this particular disruption, that the same enthusiasm, the same fragrance will follow in the other cities. So precisely that was the major kind of intervention. Now, till now, 2 basic things we had done. Number 1, we had created an overarching unit to take it forward. And number 2, we knew it well how to incentivize it through our FAME national flagship scheme. The third intervention, and the most positive one, was that we decided that we must have our own make in India kind of thing for advanced chemistry cells. So the battery that is being used in these vehicles, they must be indigenized, they must be Indian stock. So the PLI scheme for advanced chemistry cell and battery storage, not only for the use of these batteries in EV alone, but also for a number of other stationary applications and storage applications, we decided that we must kind of incentivize them. So this production linked incentive scheme was initiated. It was a kind of on 9th June of this year only. It was put into position, and with an outlay of close to, again, 2.48, 2.5 billion US dollar, that was the outlay it was made. And then we did a lot of study, lot of going around, lot of engagement internationally to see that how precisely the advanced chemistry cells have been manufactured, how precisely that ecosystem has been achieved, how the supply chain has been kind of robustly placed into position. And therefore we got into a lot of engagement, and finally we decided that we should have this own system. And now, as of now, we are at a final stage of preparing our RFP document. Maybe by the year end or maybe early next year, we should be able to identify that which will be the international or domestic players who will be manufacturing these advanced chemistry cell in India. Now, it is an absolutely objective, transparent system. It is just, I mean, You can come to know your position at the beginning itself. It is all QCBS kind of most advanced contract management principles have been applied in contract. There is an embedded grand challenge involved into it, so that you can have a conversation with the state, you can get into dialogue with them, and the states can offer in addition to what is being offered by Government of India, so that you can take a call that which would be the state, which would be the location where you would like to go in and set up your manufacturing facility, and thus come out with advanced chemistry cell manufacturing. So that was the third major intervention. So we have come to know of the overarching machinery. We have come to know of the FAME incentive scheme. We have come to know about the PLI scheme for advanced chemistry cell. Now, meanwhile, of course, we gave extension to the existing FAME scheme. That apart, that was a small little initiative, but then we did say that let it continue. Let it not be a kind of dying only in a time span of say 22 or so. So it should be extended by another 2 years, by till 24 it was extended. Now, there was another area that was left behind. We could see that the vehicle has been incentivized, the battery system has been incentivized, the storage has been incentivized. Now about the components. So precisely for the components, on 15th of this month, we came out with a PLI scheme for automobile industry, in which almost $3.5 billion has been earmarked for automobile components, with principal thrust on our automobile components of electric mobility version. So now we see this is the fourth kind of intervention, with overarching machinery, with incentives number 2, with battery number 3, with automobile components number 4. So that is how it was done. But then we did identify in the beginning itself that by mere giving incentives won't work, because after all, what we are doing is we are trying to bring about we are attempting at changing the consumer preference, asking them to stand by the biggest disruption, one of the biggest disruption of our times, and then that too without any kind of say compulsion. So we have to create an ecosystem where an individual can identify, he knows it well, that it's time for him to migrate from his conventional ICE vehicles to the electric mobility. He opts for it on his own volition as a matter of his choice. So in the mission, that is in our national mission, we identified the thrust areas. Manufacturing was one thrust area that is being given push through the automobile PLI, through the FAME scheme, through the PLI scheme for advanced chemistry cell. Then demand creation, yes, I mentioned about it. And then research and development was also significant, because you cannot, the electric mobility requires a continuous kind of research orientation, because you need to, if the approach is that you want the mobility to be adopted by the people on account of its affordability, of its convenience and comfort and accessibility, then you have to give a lot of focus to the research and development. And that is why precisely we got into engagement with our technological institutes, with our Indian institutes of technology. And as a result, what has happened is that almost 8 or 9 of them have created an independent and individual department of electric mobility or battery system, battery storage systems, and even in their existing electrical electronics, in their mechanical wing, in their electrical wing, they are given a lot of thrust to the electric mobility. And this we can see that the very young students of IIT and their profs, they are pulling off something really, really unimaginable for the country. We have also helped them to connect with the CTOs of the industry, and we have encouraged that they should, our industry people, they must come out with very, very specific problem statement on which they want IITs to work along, and within a fixed time frame, not a very long term kind of thing, in a fixed time frame of say 6 months, a year or so, they should be able to deliver, and the support should be coming from the industry. So precisely in the same way as it is being done in the Western world, a lot of industry and academic connect we have been encouraging so that it is taken, electric mobility is taken forward. Now, in addition to that, regulatory framework is needed. Regulations are needed with respect to so many things of the entire supply chain for the entire ecosystem. Now, in our structure, in our federal system, what we did was that we decided that let states have their own EV policies. And that is the reason why majority of our states and union territories, they have positioned, they have worked on their own EV policies, and they have come out with an EV policy. Now, with an EV policy, a few things come immediately. Number one, the state becomes committed to a particular policy paradigm in mobility. Number two, the people come to know of it, that there's something grand that is going to happen around. Number three, the investors also build up their confidence that this is a state that has got commitment to electric mobility, and we should be going over there. Now, these states, and there are almost 25 of them, states and union territories combined together, either they have finalized their electric mobility policy, electric EV policy, or it is in the final stage of draft, final stage of discussion to be positioned very fast. They have realized that this is an opportunity for them. This disruption is not only for the electric mobility, but it will also provide one of the greatest opportunity for employment in the country. So they realized that once investors start coming in their own states, once they start setting up their manufacturing units, this will give a lot of employment opportunity. It will also give a lot of optics, lot of traction in the other allied fields, and the state can, at the end of it, it will bring prosperity to the entire state. That was the reason why there is so much of thrust by the states on the electric mobility, and we have been always hand-holding them, precisely telling them that what exactly should be the skill set, how exactly they should be framing these policies, the EV policy. Now, today, let me inform to all the listeners that among the states also there is a kind of competition. Every state is watchful of the policy of the other state. They are always trying to identify the gaps in their existing policy and always trying to ramp it up to bring about amendments so that they are able to fill in the gap and can match the best, so that investors feel comfortable, they feel attracted to be working over there. Fiscal incentives I have mentioned about. Now, specifications and standards are also very important. We need to have our own standards, our own specifications based on our own climate, based on our own geography. Therefore, our Bureau of Indian Standards, BIS, and the Department of Science and Technology, they have worked like anything to ensure that our own standards are put into place. And for the two-wheelers and three-wheelers, those standards have already, both for the AC and the DC chargers, they have already notified it. Prototypes have been built. Now this is likely to be positioned very fast. Now we could realize that probably awareness is also one of the most significant aspects, because awareness will play a key role. If for an individual to take a call, if they are going to get into the electric mobility stream, they must be knowing, they must have knowledge that if what are the differences between the ICE option, internal combustion engine option, and the electric mobility, and why they should be going in for electric mobility? How precisely does it affect the total cost of parity in a long time span? All these things must be made aware. Therefore, we have encouraged, and let me tell you that number of international agencies are also working in this stream. British High Commission is working there. A lot of international agencies are working. A lot of digital intervention has been initiated, and Go Electric campaign, Switch Delhi campaign, number of campaigns have been initiated so that people, to make aware the people that this is the paradigm in which it's time for us to get into. And this is again bringing a lot of traction. Now, finally, the last element of the entire ecosystem, the thrust area, is urban mining, circularity, that once the kind of metals and minerals that are used in the manufacturing of battery, if they are not in India, if they are to be brought from India, then naturally, once those battery systems, they grow redundant, they've finished their even second life, then those minerals must be extracted to the fullest, and they should be brought back to the economy, to the same process of production. So therefore, again, Government of India has initiated a circular economy principle, and lot of circular economy in different streams have been, almost 13 circular economy they have been thinking of. And the one which precisely deals with electric mobility is the lithium-ion battery circular economy, on which a lot of work is going on, and we are watching that how exactly to take this thing forward. Now, yes, let me tell you another two more challenges that we are facing, and we are trying to come out of it through a lot of our own interventions, a lot of thinking through, a lot of experience sharing with the international agencies. One is that of charging infrastructure, how to proliferate them. And we have taken a conscious decision that as far as our focus should be on the charging points. So the more and more charging points, by that I mean number of vehicles that could be simultaneously charged, that must be increased, that must be put into place at the fastest possible time. Because after all, in the charging infrastructure, only three things are there. Three sub-challenges, if I might say, is there. That is, first is, of course, with regard to the land, identification of land parcel precisely, where exactly it has to be installed. The second is with regard to the utility, the connection, the electric connection, the strength of that particular connection, so that juices that electricity is available. And finally, the tariff structure, the payment systems, the payment mechanism. So these are the three challenges that we are trying to come out of it, and different in the country. Almost Ministry of Power, for example, Niti Aayog is there. We are all trying to work out that how at a very, very rapid pace, number of charging stations, number of charging points could be increased, so that people are that range anxiety, that precise charging anxiety among the people, that is taken care of. So that is one area that is with regard to the charging infrastructure. Again, a lot of work is doing. And second is how to bring about affordability, how to reduce the cost to finance. So because it's time that electric vehicles, once there is a residual value finalized in the electric vehicles, then the banks are more comfortable in providing the loans to the people at a concessional rate. So what precisely, how precisely should we go about it? Maybe with the introduction of first loss risk sharing instrument, maybe with the involvement of providing a kind of fund support to the banks, so that the banks are quite liberal in providing loans at a very, very concessional rate for going ahead with the electric mobility. So these two challenges are yet to be addressed that we are working with. That is what with regard to the cost of finance, that is number one. And number two is, of course, regarding the charging infrastructure. But then all told, let me tell you with a lot of satisfaction that the electric mobility, I mean, lot of optics it has been gathered over these 3 years. And definitely it has been very, very challenging, because then you have to immediately identify a particular roadblock. You have to get into the details, solve it, so that mobility is not hampered, so that the adoption, the proliferation of electric systems are taken forward. And the way two-wheelers and three-wheelers precisely, it is going on a very, very satisfactory pace. For the buses also, it is again going on a very, very, I would say, satisfactory pace. In these 9 cities, these cities combined together, they've already kind of pegged their demand for 5,000 plus, close to 6,000 buses that they want to be immediately deployed, or maybe they want to change the older ICE and replace them with the electric buses, so that people are, I mean, so many other factors, pollution and all those things, positive health externalities, they are taken care of. The best thing is that in the entire country, whether it is industry, whether it is people, whether it is the state, constituent states, and the political masters, it is a kind of the entire team is taking it forward. And let me also express my gratitude to a number of international players, international community members, different countries that are also engaging with us, trying to help us in developing the understanding how to take electric mobility forward. Precisely, let me tell you that with regard to this PLI scheme for advanced chemistry cells, almost 200 stakeholders we have been able to engage with. And in a time span of almost 2 years of preparatory work has gone into it. We have got the learning of all the new 8 units that are under manufacturing, under kind of setting up in different countries, whether it is Poland, it is Germany, it is Sweden, it's US, it's South Korea, China. We have been getting into the details that how precisely it is being done, how precisely they are able to create that ecosystem. That is why I said that I have a lot of thanks and gratitude to the international think tanks, international bodies, different governments, their high commissions and embassies who are getting engaged with us and trying to help us in developing the understanding, and our own technological institutes also. So we have done a lot of understanding through different countries' story, for example, China, US, Korea, India, our own story, and we have seen that how precisely we should be going ahead with it. Thanks to Infineon again for organizing this particular such a flagship event, such a wonderful summit, and thanks for giving me opportunity to tell before you our India's EV story. Let me tell you one thing with a lot of confidence, that this is going to be a major success story for the India. In the same way as we adopted LED bulbs in the country, precisely in the same way you will see, of the same proportion you will see that the electric mobility will come to the country, bringing about all the positive changes, and India will stand by, India will gain out of one of the biggest disruption of our times. So thanks to all the listeners, thanks to all those who are watching it from different locations all over the world, for being with me and listening to the very actively listening to the India's EV story. And I'm sure that the further events of this October Tech being organized by Infineon, you will enjoy them equally. Thanks a lot. Wish you all good times. Thank you.